All right, everyone, welcome to the Live Lead Legacy Takeover. I'm Carlos Luna, your host for today. My very first guest is Mr. Rodney McCulloch, or is it McCulloch?
McCulloch.
McCulloch.
Yes.
Mr. Rodney, how's your workers' comp WCI experience going so far?
It's getting kicked off, so it's early on, but looks like a great crowd.
Yeah, you know, this is one of my favorite conferences throughout the year. Great content, great networking. It's a great time for everybody to come, get caught up on any new emerging issues in the work comp industry, and of course connect with clients, connect with friends, right? And hopefully meet some new faces along the way.
Absolutely.
So when you come to these types of events, Rodney, what is your primary goal? What do you generally like to take out of it?
I like to get some of the content, but I think the main thing is developing relationships, maintaining relationships, seeing people that you may only see once a year here, so it's a great place to connect.
You know, you and I had been talking about essentially the landscape of workers' compensation nationally, right? And as you know, workers' comp in general can be a bit frictional, a bit, what would you call it?
Confrontational.
Confrontational is a great word for it. How would you categorize that? Your firm, your law firm, what is the law firm's name, by the way?
Moore, Ingram, Johnson & Steele.
And you're based out of the state of?
We're based out of Marietta, Georgia, near Atlanta, and we have offices in Florida, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, New Jersey, and exploring some others.
That's great. And so, as you know, workers' compensation is generally overseen and regulated at the state level. So every state has its own unique set of rules, its own unique set of fences, if you will. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about the Georgia landscape. What is Georgia like as it pertains to workers' comp?
Well, it's funny because when we talked about this, you had asked me what are some hot topics that are going on in Georgia right now, and I was a little bit drawing a blank because it's a little boring, which I guess is sort of a good thing because, you know, businesses want stability. They want to know what is going to happen. They don't want a lot of uncertainty. In Georgia, there's just not, every July 1st, new laws and rules come out, and this year there's just not much of anything new. It's pretty stable.
Stable is a word that is usually not used to describe workers' compensation. So I have to tell you, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Are there any specific elements in the state of Georgia, Rodney, that you feel like, yeah, you know what? Because we're good at this, this is the byproduct of that. It creates a stable system within the state.
You know, I thought about that. I think there's probably three that I can think of. First is just the people involved in the system. You know, from the chairman down, our chairman, Ben Vinson, and even the chairmans before him, they very much try to reach across the aisle and make sure that both sides are engaged, the defense, the employers, the claimants, the attorneys on both sides, and they communicate well. They want feedback from both sides, and they try to address concerns as they come up. So I think that starts at the top and it trickles all the way down, all the way to the attorneys. I think the attorneys try to get along. It's a tight industry. Most attorneys do 100% workers' comp, so they run into each other a lot.
So do you feel like that collaboration definitely allows you to exchange ideas, to keep that environment of, how would you say, just cohesiveness and being able to work with one another instead of it being so confrontational?
Yes, I think it helps out a lot, especially when you have states that may use the normal court system. With our system, it's administrative law judges. All they do is hear workers' compensation cases, and the attorneys practice in front of those judges all the time. So it's a system where you build relationships, and you don't burn them.
So, one of the challenges that the national workers' compensation system works through on a regular basis is talent recruitment and retention. And recruiting and retaining good attorneys has always been a challenge for law firms. In all of the states that I've ever worked in, California, nationally, you name it, everybody struggles with this issue. Is that an element of the Georgia workers' comp environment that you also deal with, where you have to continuously recruit retention of good attorneys is difficult. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, over the last several years, I think the turnover rate has been much higher than in the past, and it is hard to retain. I feel like, you invest a lot of time and money with associates trying to train them, and then right as soon as they are up and running and starting to handle files like you've taught them to, and they're being profitable, they may leave for another $10,000. So I feel like it's a little bit hard to develop that loyalty that I think 20 years ago I saw a lot more of.
How important is that loyalty element in terms of retaining talent? Is it all about loyalty? Does the finance element come into play? Like in your opinion, in just hiring attorneys throughout your career, what would you say are the top two things, right, that you need to consider as you endeavor to retain good talent within your firm?
Well, I think being outside of Atlanta, we have a benefit because a lot of people don't want to drive in the traffic in downtown Atlanta. They want to live out in Warren Cobb County. They have great school systems. It's a great place to raise a family. So, we try to find people that have connections there, that want to be there, as opposed to being downtown. So I think that, if we find the right people, then they will stay around, but it is a little bit difficult. It's hard to tell what, it seems like in the past, associates were looking for a long-term relationship. Now it's more of a, what am I going to get right now? And if someone else can give me something a little bit better, then maybe I'll try that out. So I don't know how you really address that.
Yeah, it's a difficult challenge. Like I said, it's not only in the legal field. I think that claims adjusters is also one of those positions that is really difficult to retain.
Especially since COVID, because everybody is so remote that, you used to be an adjuster in Atlanta and you would work for the Atlanta TPAs or insurance companies. Now you can be an adjuster for someone in Seattle.
Yeah, that's right. I wish there were such a thing as perfection, Rodney. As we're talking about Georgia, the comp system in Georgia being pretty stable, it's probably still not perfect, right?
Correct.
So if you were to look into the nuts and bolts of the Georgia system, is there one thing that you would say, man, if I could just wave my magic wand or snap my fingers, I would change that? What is that one thing?
Comp system in Georgia.
Did I stump you? Did I stump?
You may have almost stumped me. The comp system in Georgia, I feel like it's difficult for employers that have really physically demanding jobs or that terminate, because it's a little challenging to get off of the benefits. So I know that's a big complaint of a lot of my clients. But as far as the system goes, I think the system runs smoothly, and I think when there's concerns, the board listens, and attorneys work through the problems. So it's a pretty okay system to practice in.
Good. Rodney, the podcast is called Live, Lead, Legacy, and I need to ask you, right, being a partner at your firm, having been successful for the number of years that you've been successful, if there were a young attorney watching this, what advice would you give them as they prepare to follow in your footsteps, right, to maybe a partner position at a firm, or maybe just aspiring to reach higher heights in their career? What advice would you give those young attorneys?
I would say, first of all, be a legal scholar. Learn the law, because you're going to naturally grow and become a leader in the industry when you know the law and you take the time to really, get involved in it and not cut corners. When an issue comes up, really research it and know it. Also look long term. What's the firm have to offer? Do you want to be a partner there and retire in 20, 30 years? If so, really ask some questions about what are the benefits of one firm over the other. Because there are a lot of differences. Every firm is run a different way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Rodney, I really appreciate you stopping by the studio today. We're here from the WCI Conference in Orlando, Florida. It's hot, it's humid.
It is.
I'm sure you can see it on my skin. But it's been fun, and I really appreciate you stopping by, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. People, I hope that you keep watching. Coming up next is my good friend, Mr. Jeff Sickles, Chief Claims Officer from Broadspire. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Live Lead Legacy takeover of WCI 2025. With me right now is Mr. Jeff Sickles, Chief Claims Officer for Broadspire. How you doing, Mr. Jeff?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, I'm doing great. You enjoying WCI 2025 so far?
This is a great conference.
Good, good. So when you come to conferences like this, I don't know how many conferences you go to on a regular basis, but is there one goal or a particular aim in mind when you hit the ground at these things?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of different risk management conferences throughout the year. Ultimately for us is we have a lot of clients here, a lot of partners, a lot of vendors. Take the opportunity, meet with them, strengthen our relationships. And if there's anybody new that we want to meet, maybe do some business with, that's a great opportunity for us as well.
There you go. From an education standpoint, what does that element play in terms of a role for you to be here? Do you look forward to emerging issues, or do you feel like there are other resources that you lean on to keep you informed of those emerging issues?
So this is by far one of the better conferences with the classes that take place, right? They set them up on different verticals. So we're very big into, providing risk management services to the PEO and temp staffing space.
Okay.
And for us, there's 2 days, right? There's a PEO day and there's a temp staffing day. Fantastic opportunity for us to visit with our clients, possibly future clients, carriers that are in that room, and a lot of defense attorneys that do work in that space. So very unlike other conferences where it's just big panels, this is a great opportunity.
I love it, I love it. So as we look at the national landscape, Broadspire being a pretty large player across multiple insurance lines, not just workers' comp, you guys see the world of insurance claims at a very high level. One of the challenges that our space has, our space being insurance claims in general across all lines, right, is talent retention, talent recruitment. How do you guys handle that, right? Because as I talk to third-party administrators across the country, that's not an issue that is geographic specific. It's not an issue that is company specific. It's something that everybody contends with nationally. What is your approach to recruitment and retention?
Yeah, so the landscape changed dramatically coming out of COVID, right? There's a lot of folks that left the industry, and the biggest challenge was there was no one coming into the industry, right? The days of training and sending folks down to home offices, either a TPA or a carrier, those were long gone. And coming out of COVID, when so many folks left, it just opened up a huge vacuum of need for talent. So, 21, 22, TPAs, carriers, brokers, everybody trading talent back and forth, back and forth. We decided to take a different approach in 22 and go back to the roots of Crawford & Company. We were known as the trainer of the industry, right? It was us, Liberty Mutual. So we basically revamped how we did that. We used to send people away for training. We learned how to really use teams very well. We've onboarded specific trainers by line of business. And since January of 22, we have onboarded 150, call them early career folks, into Broadspire. It's been so successful that we just keep doing it, right? At any given time, there's 20 to 30 people being trained to be the future adjusters and leaders of our industry. And we're never going to let up on that, because at some point, 10 to 20% of our staff will be new into this industry. But if you're not focused there, you're going to miss the boat. Right? There's more people leaving it than coming in.
Right.
You got to change the narrative.
So when you say early career, these are individuals that are totally green to insurance, totally green to workers' comp. Qualify that for us a little bit.
So some of them are 100% straight out of college. Some of them are straight out of high school. Some of them, it might be their first career change. Maybe they worked in a medical department of a hospital, a physician's office on the workers' compensation side. Some of them may just been in a completely different industry. But when we put out like a LinkedIn project to recruit, really what we're looking for is people that are phenomenal at customer service. This is a customer service industry, common sense, really looking to learn a skill and then continue to grow that skill. And that's really what we're looking for. So if you're out of college, regardless of what your degree is, we can train you. What you need to bring is that work ethic, that common sense, that customer service skill. We'll train you on everything else you need to know to be successful.
So another area that our world has been focused on for the last year, 2 years, maybe a little bit longer for those that are more cutting edge, is artificial intelligence, and really the development of technology in the interest of making claims administration more efficient. What is Broadspire doing as it pertains to AI and just technology-driven efficiencies?
I love that question. Love the concept of AI. I mean, very general, very broad term, but I think you hit it on the head. This is, like I said before, on the early career program, customer service drives results.
Yeah.
This is not going to be something where tech or artificial intelligence is going to remove the human element. What we really need is we need to give our adjusters and our claim staff more time to have human element. So it's a very hard job, but there's a lot of things that need to happen within the claim file itself. There's a lot of data requirements, so our clients and our carriers can use that data. But the more that we put on the adjusters, there's less time for them to adjudicate the loss. Yes. Less time to spend with the injured worker, less time to talk to defense attorneys about strategy. So look for opportunities. There's things that need to happen. They need to happen all the time, and they need to be 100% perfect. Use artificial intelligence or some sort of tech to have that get done, and give the adjusters time to adjudicate the loss, build relationships with their injured workers, claimants, carrier partners, clients. Then you will get people really excited also about the job.
Yeah.
Right? That new age, they want to see things being done differently. So this is a great time. Get in on the AI, make sure it's working correctly, and think about it strategically.
Sure.
Just summarizing documents, that's already passé.
Yeah.
It's really what can you pull out of those documents. Can you pull out MMI dates, return to work dates, first day out of work, get the benefits paid timely, be 100% compliant in your jurisdiction. And I think tech can get that done and allow us to stay in compliance, but still build a great rapport with our clients.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you here, because I know you're really good and you're really smart, so I know I could do this with you.
Let's hope.
So, you all have a pretty significant footprint in some of the more challenging state environments in workers' comp. I'm talking about California, of course.
Yep.
If you had a magic wand, or you're able to snap your fingers and change something today in California's workers' compensation system, what would that one thing be? What is the top priority for you as a claims officer, right? What would you change?
It's very technical, but it would be coming up with a more streamlined, objective approach to calculating the average weekly wage. You can give a file to multiple people, and you can get different results.
Yes.
It's very difficult, and it's not that it's hard. If you take a regular salaried employee and you take a 52-week wage statement, piece of cake. It's when you take an hourly worker, who's been in the job 2 or 3 months, there's a lot of nuances. And the time that it takes for an adjuster to calculate that correctly, it's not efficient, right? So we are looking at ways that we can use technology to make that an easier process for our adjusters, because on the back end of everything that we do have the state of California coming in and then doing audits. So you're trying to do the right thing for your client and your carrier and stay in compliance. So if I could change, I would love to change 2 things.
Yeah, what's the second thing?
My second thing would be...
It's a bonus.
Yeah. More people in California wanting to get into this industry, right? Out of all the states, that's the one that we're focused on the most, and we've had some amazing success with very specific early career programs. We just need to get more people wanting to get into that industry, right?
What do you think is keeping people from the industry? So I'm on the panel to develop a presentation for the upcoming Elevate Conference, plug for our friends at the Elevate Conference, coming up in just a couple of weeks actually in San Diego. And we've been deliberating that. Like, what is keeping people from wanting to work in the industry? There are thoughts out there that say, we just haven't done a great job in messaging what insurance is all about, and really how important it is, and how engaging it is, how AKA sexy of an industry it is. From your perspective, what is that barrier to get
I don't think that a lot of people know what this industry is, right? So listen, you pick anybody off the street and say, do you want to be a claims adjuster or work comp claims adjuster, you want to get into risk management, what is that, right? So we do need to start partnering with high schools, and maybe is there a curriculum that we can teach in the high school? This industry, you might start as a claims adjuster, but the world is your oyster after that.
Yes.
And the salaries are growing as fast as I've ever seen in any industry. So it's a great opportunity, but you can't go out on LinkedIn and put a job out there for work comp claims adjuster, because 95% of the people reading it, unless they're already in this industry, have no idea what you're talking about. You've got to talk about compassion, making people's lives better. Listen, when they get a claim, when an injured worker gets injured or a claimant gets into a car accident, it's a bad time, right? You can impact people's lives. And then you kind of talk about the tech, right? So I think we need to make the job sexier, but we need to explain to people what it really is. Right. Most of the accolades that I get from like our early career adjusters comes from an injured worker that says, you walked me through the process, you stayed there with me, I understood my benefits. People don't see that when you look at a LinkedIn ad and it says claims adjuster.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Right.
Right.
When you say the word claims adjuster, I automatically think about the guy that came to my house after I got into a car accident, walks around my car and says, oh yeah, this is how much I'm going to give you a check for. But to your point, there's so much purpose behind administering claims, adjudicating claims, that I don't think a lot of people know, or anybody knows for that matter. I'll give you an example. I started off in the claims desk, and a lot of people that watch, LiveLEADlegacy know my story. When I started on the claims desk 20 years ago, within 7 days of being employed, I got a call from a suicide caller because they hadn't been receiving their benefits in a timely fashion, and it had placed them in an emotionally, psychologically difficult place, right? I learned very early on that what I do on a daily basis, as transactional and as meaningless as it might seem to me, it has profound effects potentially on somebody else's life. And it immediately hooked me, Jeff. I was hooked. I understood that what I did for a living mattered, right? And so if more people out there understood that claims adjusting, what we do in the insurance environment actually has very real impact on people's lives, maybe more people would want to do it.
You are that link for them to keep their lives going, right? Remember, you're working, you're making a great salary, you got all these benefits, now you're injured, you're out of work, and you've never had a comp claim before, you've never had a claim before, right? So how do I get medical care, right? How am I going to get paid? These are the things that I think more folks need to understand. That's really what you're doing. There's a lot of other nuances that come in, but that's really, at the end of the day, what you are doing. You are keeping that person, keeping food on the table, letting them continue their lives. And I think if you build that rapport day one, day two with that injured worker, less likely to litigate, less likely to be confrontational, and then at the end of it, they come back and they say, you had a profound impact on my life.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So in the work comp claims environment, we often talk about claims advocacy, we talk about injured worker advocacy, we talk about empathy, right, at length. We use all these cool words that mean a lot, or should mean a lot to us, right? As a chief claims officer, Jeff, is there a balance that you have to implement as it pertains to efficiency, making sure that you're not keeping claims open too long, or you're not creating an environment where rampant abuse of benefits is happening, right, for your clients, and having empathy for injured workers? What is that balance in your system?
Yeah, it's a great point, right? So listen, at the end of the day, we are adjusting claims on behalf of a carrier or our client, and our goal is to mitigate the exposure, but our goal is to pay the benefits that are owed and not pay benefits that are not owed. Right? And there are folks that have never had a claim before, whether it's on the liability side or the work comp side, but then there are people that abuse the system. And I think, you're talking about artificial intelligence, way back in 2019, we started using predictive models. And we are really looking to get into that claim as early as possible and look for things, right? Look for SIU opportunities. Is there any fraud on it? And not even fraud, right? Maybe running a predictive model that says, hey, at this point in this file, I think medical management intervention would be great. Maybe we need an FCM or a TCM, or we need to do a peer review. So we look at files, we look how long has the person been out of work? What is the medical reserve the adjuster has on the file? Are there any comorbidities? Has utilization review already approved a surgery? That's an opportunity for us to get ahead of it. And we say to the adjuster, hey, here's all the factors on this claim. We think we could reduce the spend if we get the right resource involved right now. Broadspire, we love our product, right? Everything we do is in-house. They're all Broadspire employees, medical management, claims adjusters. Very rarely do we use outside vendors for anything. So we try to make the process very efficient for the adjuster. We're telling them, look at this file, here's the reasons why, and if you agree, just click here, and we'll send it to the right resource. But what you're doing is you're mitigating the cost, but you're helping the injured worker at the same time.
Absolutely.
And listen, if there's going to be somebody there that wants to play the system, we need to know that up front. Right? We don't want to know it 2 or 3 years down the road. Right? Bring the right resources in early, make an impact, get the claim closed, and then move on to the next file.
Man, what you say really is true in my experience, and actually there's a ton of science behind it, right? Where what is good for the injured worker oftentimes is actually good for the employer too,
100%.
right? And so they're not exclusive or mutually exclusive to one another. They absolutely can be a shared benefit for both parties.
The best client is a client that says, I offer workers' compensation benefits because it's what's the right thing to do, and let me pay them out, and then make sure that my TPA and my claim staff, if they're looking and they see anything that's not right, we discuss it, right? But recognizing it early on is the best way.
Here's another curveball for you as we're starting to wrap up our time here. Think of young Jeff Sickles riding his bike in the 1990s. You seem really young to me.
Thanks.
You ride your bike out there, right?
I'm glad you didn't say the 70s.
What advice would that young Jeff, what was your nickname when you were a kid?
Well, my last name is Sickles, so it was Pickles.
Pickles? I love it. What would young Jeffrey Pickles, what advice would he give to Jeff Sickles today?
So I will tell you that the advice that I would actually give to somebody, let's just keep it in this industry. Find what makes you tick about being an adjuster. Find what you enjoy. Right? You are everything when you are in this industry. You are an investigator, you're a medical person, you're a legal person. Find it and make it interesting. And what I would say, and I say it to my kids all the time, my kids both just graduated college, find something that you're interested in and try to make it a career. Right? When I got involved, I went down the Crawford's training class, 4 weeks, came back, had a full desk of claims. I was a liability adjuster to start. I love the investigation piece. I love uncovering things and finding things, and that's what makes it interesting. And my first VP of claims came to me and said, that's the attitude. Find what's interesting about the job. You're not just checking a box. Make it interesting.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
Then you'll stay in it forever. I've been in here for 30 years, so.
Well, you know what? I've been here for 20, so I'm right behind you. My man, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today. I know your time is in very high demand. And for those of you watching, stick around. We've got some more great guests, great content coming up. And thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Let me get in frame here. Sorry about that, Greg. Welcome back to the Live, Lead, Legacy takeover of WCI 2025. So far we've had a couple of amazing guests. We've had Mr. Rodney McCulloch from Georgia. We've had Mr. Jeff Sickles from New Jersey. And joining me right now is Mr. Greg Hamlin from Berkley Industrial Comp.
You're right.
Tell us about yourself, Greg.
So I work for Berkley Industrial Comp. We are a WR Berkley company, and there are 64 operating units in WR Berkley. So it is a decentralized focus. We're probably the 12th largest writer of workers' compensation, but you wouldn't know it because we're spread across all these different operating units.
Yeah.
My particular one focuses on high hazard workers' comp insurance. So if you can light yourself on fire, fall to your death, work underground, all the jobs that are high hazard, usually they're compensated very well for these difficult jobs, and they have safety teams built around it because they're difficult, but when the accidents happen, they're challenging.
I almost chuckled when you said light yourself on fire. Have you ever had somebody
We've had
light
several of
themselves
those,
on
yes. Caustic burns, electrical burns,
Yes, okay.
all of that kind of stuff.
Unintentionally light yourself on fire.
Unintentionally.
Yes.
So these types of jobs, normally these guys are making six figures.
Yes.
They may have an 8th grade education, but they are paid very well for the jobs they do, but they're dangerous. So there are a lot of carriers that won't insure them because of the work they do. So it is a high severity focus with low frequency.
Yeah, well, you know, but they're very dangerous to your point. All it takes is one, right?
That's right.
So we're here in beautiful Orlando, Florida. It's a little muggy. You could see it on my skin. I'm sure it's very shiny. When you travel to these events, Greg, like, what is your number one objective? You know, is it the education? Is it the networking? Is it what is your goal when you hit the ground running here at WCI and other conferences?
That's a great question. I think one of the things I love about WCI and what I hate about it, they're probably the same. It's very compact.
Yes.
So you can meet so many different people in a very short window of time. So that's the positive is, so I use this as an opportunity to connect with people who will be great partners for us, that have the same vision, that want the same things, and that's what I love about it. Some of the other conventions, conferences are more spread out, which is nice in certain ways, but here I can't get from the hall to my hotel room without stopping and talking about 20 people, which is fantastic. So
it's a good problem,
you know, but so that I think that's what separates WCI in the work comp space.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, as you know, our industry for the last year or two, right, has been consumed with the concept of artificial intelligence, technical developments in the interest of efficiency, doing things better, faster, more accurate. What role does technology play within the Berkley system, and what do you see from a technological standpoint on the roadmap in the next 5 years for you all?
So that's a good question. I think it's evolving so quickly that that's one of the things that can be really challenging, is to predict where it goes in 5 years. I think we're even like thinking 6 months, you know, because things are changing that rapidly in the space. So I think the most important thing to stay focused on is that in this industry, relationships matter, and having empathy, having emotional intelligence, and using those pieces and looking for people who have those tools to deploy, those are the pieces that AI, I don't think, is going to replace in the near future. So what we're looking at is, what are the tasks that we can maximize, whether that's consuming large amounts of medical records, or whether that is being able to, I can go into our version that's protected through Copilot, and I can upload a file, and I can ask questions like, based on the file notes, tell me how this lines up with ODG guidelines. And is it, based on what you're seeing in this file, what are the subrogation opportunities? Give me an example of a supervisor reviewing this file of the next steps. So I think there are a lot of tools that will help us get better at our craft, but at the end of the day, I still think that this is a relationship business. And when you're dealing with people who are in pain or who have been through a difficult injury, then they need a person, a human being that they can talk to. So can we move some of the task-oriented things aside and focus more on decision making and dealing with people, and redeploy our talent in those directions? I think that's the future, for Berkley at least.
Well, you know, I love that you touch on the human element of what we do, because at the end of the day, we really are in a people business.
We are.
You know, we deal with people who, generally speaking, are in the most vulnerable place in life, right? Very sensitive time. And you're managing their money for,
that's right.
You know,
and their and their healthcare.
And the healthcare, right? So it's a very, very touchy and sensitive work that we're in. We talk about advocacy a lot in this industry. You know, we talk about compassion and empathy and all those cool words, right? That should mean a lot to us.
Yep.
But from your perspective, is there a balance that you need to strike between, you know, being an efficient and a good closer of claims? And how do you balance that with empathy for the injured worker? Is there a balance that exists?
There is. So we started experimenting, I would say 4 years ago maybe. It was during the pandemic that we came up with this big idea. We called it our empathetic resolution model. And the concept was, where I got stuck as I went down the rabbit hole of claims advocacy is, how can I be an advocate for an injured worker alone when I have an insured that also is paying a premium, and I have an agent who's getting a commission? And so I've got to balance all those relationships along with what the workers' comp statute says you can do, and do right by all of them. And so we moved to what we call our empathetic resolution model, and the concept there is, how can we infuse empathy at every point of the experience for the policyholder, for the agent, and the injured worker, and then do right by all those people. And so we've come up with a lot of really creative ways of doing that. We're probably one of the few companies that sends cookies after a surgery.
Wow, really?
And we do that because...
To the injured worker?
To the injured worker.
Okay.
Because we feel like that relationship matters, and if we want to build trust with them and help them through this process, we have to understand them. And so doing those small things, like I can think of, the statute tells us what we have to do, but it doesn't tell us we can't do more.
Yes.
And so often what we try to do is, if we can build trust with that injured worker, our goal is outcome focused. And outcome focused means we may pay more now to pay less over 10 years. And so I think if we can change our mindset around, well, I'm looking at this bill and this price for this service, and think about, what's this whole thing gonna cost from the beginning to the end? And if we can avoid unnecessary litigation, if we can treat the injured worker right, if we can meet their needs, then we're winning. So, I mean, we had an injured worker in Illinois. I won't go into his name or any of those details, but he lost a limb in an accident, which is very difficult. And for those who don't know Illinois, that's not a state where we direct care. We have no choice in where they go. Now we can make suggestions, and this injured worker needed a prosthesis. He went to one of the best clinics in the country that was in the Chicago area, and they fitted him with something that cost about $500,000, and he couldn't use it. And he wanted to go back to work and actually drive vehicles again, and couldn't do it with this mechanical hand. And so we connected him with a guy I know in Atlanta, and I said, will you at least talk to him? Do a Zoom meeting with him. He's lost his limb too, and he's spent his whole life working with prosthesis. Let's work together to try to get you that job back. And he's like, he's skeptical, but he's like, I'll take the phone call. And then he took the phone call and he said, well, if I win, I would want to go with my wife. Would you pay for my wife to go? And I said, absolutely. So we flew him and his wife to Atlanta. This man picked him up at the airport and drove him to the clinic and said, what are your goals? Set up the goals, built the prosthesis on site, then took him to a yard that he'd set up with the same equipment to have him practice using it, okay? At the end of this journey, he ended up falling in love with the guy that operated that gave him the prosthesis, and not only that, they were able to use that prosthesis at half the cost. And now they text each other every day. So that's where I'm going with. We got to think outcomes. And those outcomes come with relationships. And the statute tells us what we must do. But if we're truly doing the right thing, a lot of times the best outcome for everybody is going to cost less if we work together.
Well, I love the point that you make, that the statute basically dictates the floor, the bare minimum that you can do.
Correct.
Right? You cannot do any less than this. But there's nothing that prohibits payers from doing more.
Correct.
Right, in an effort to try and expedite the closure of the claim, or really just to show this individual that you have empathy for their situation.
Well, and you look at that, I think his prosthesis, and this is just round numbers, the new one might be $150,000 versus $400, and if you figure he needs a new one every 5 to 10 years, the amount of savings and the buy-in that he has because of this, the relationship that was built, I mean, that's where it's at. So that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. So there are, I'm sure, a lot of people that are going to be watching this that are taking notes, and they're like, no, Greg is a genius, right? And then there are others, I'm sure, that are like, well, what are you talking about, Greg? There's so much fraud that's out there, right?
Okay,
There's so many people that aren't totally honest with their claim situation, and they're just trying to game the system. What would you say to that community, the people that are uber focused on fraudulent activity?
So I would say that it happens. I think sometimes we overemphasize how much it happens. I think more often we have, I call it the vacation syndrome. You've ever been on an amazing vacation? And like my family, we all go to the beach. I've got 6 kids. On that last day at the beach, I'm like, man, what if we could just stay? And I'm thinking, like, maybe we could buy a house down here. I know it makes no sense, but I know I don't want to leave. And thinking about going back to work and all the things that are waiting for me stresses me out. And then I go back to work, I see the people I work with, I'm reminded why I love what I do, and I'm happy again. Yeah. So I think a lot of times what we're talking about is that latter one, which if we can relate to that as human beings, we can understand that's just how human beings think. That's not necessarily fraud, but if you could make your vacation last forever, you might want to.
Right.
And so we're fighting some human tendencies there, but I would say, even when there is instances where we're going to deny a claim, we can still act with empathy. And I'll give you an example. We had an injured worker who was in a terrible accident driving a truck, and at the scene, the police arrived and they found a large amount of marijuana, including a grinder. So this was more than just recreational. This is like a large amount. We're in like the hobby level.
Wow.
So the police got an order from the court to get a blood sample on site because they wanted to charge him with a DUI, which he was charged with.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so now as we're investigating this claim and getting these facts, we still understand somebody got legitimately hurt in a motor vehicle accident. Now, are we going to be the payer? Probably not. Are we going to have to deny this claim? Probably so. But as we talked to him, one of the things we did as we were investigating it is he needed his care transferred from one facility to another. The only way to do that was to have some kind of insurance. He lost everything in the vehicle. He lost his wallet, his healthcare insurance, all of that. So our claim specialist called the insured, got the information, filed it with the hospital, explained to the injured worker, if we accept this the claim, we're going to go back and pay all of this. But we don't want your care interrupted. We want you to get the care you need so that you can get back on track. So we've taken these extra steps for you. Now, is that our job to do that? No. But is it showing empathy and that we care and we understand what he's going through? Yes. So I think there is a line that we can still walk, even when we're denying those claims, where we can treat people with dignity and respect and try to do the right thing and be honest and upfront.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So Greg, the podcast is called Live, Lead, Legacy, right? And I'm curious, for those claims examiners that might be watching this, that aspire to become a chief claims officer one day, what are the qualities that you think make for a good claims leader in today's claims environment from your perspective? What do you as a professional focus on that you develop in your toolbox, or maybe even just in your personal development that makes you a good leader in the space?
So I would say first is don't wait for somebody to tap you on the shoulder. Take control of your own career. I've never stopped learning. I'm always listening to different podcasts. I'm reading books. If you came into my office, you'd see 30 books just piled up, where when I have downtime, I'm trying to think about things that are going to drive me, and it may not be like I find the answer to the question in this particular book, but maybe it gets me thinking, and that thinking takes me further down the road. And I think to be a good leader, you have to learn how to listen. And I think that's probably one thing that is not taught very well. So I would encourage anybody who wants to be in leadership to seek out opportunities to learn about active listening, how to stop talking, how to make sure people feel heard. If people don't feel heard, they won't follow.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel like you're listening and you're addressing their concerns and you're helping them grow, they're not going to follow.
Yeah.
So I would say you're going to have to take some strategic risks in your career. We've moved a few times. You're going to have to prove yourself, and you're also going to have to stretch yourself and keep asking yourself, how can I do this better, instead of letting your ego get to the point where you're like, I'm pretty amazing. Every day we should be working on ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. There's always room for improvement. I love the fact that you said, learn how to be quiet, right? Sometimes you just need to not say anything, listen to what the other person is trying to tell you, because it could very well teach us something. You could very well learn something from it.
For me, so I'm a father of 6 kids, and early in my career,
congratulations.
Thank you. So from 20 to 3, so I'm doing every mode of parenting besides grandparenting yet. But what I learned when I was an early manager is I was so busy trying to execute, and I often could see the 5,000-foot view, and someone would come into my office and I'd be multitasking, or I would not be fully present, or I knew what they were already saying and I already knew the answer to it, so I wasn't showing them that I was paying attention.
Yeah.
And so I've learned over time, and I practice a lot with the kids, when people come to my office, I Control Alt Delete, turn my phone over, slide my chair away from all of my stuff, give them my attention and listen. And then once they've said everything they need to say, I try to make sure I restate it and say, so what I'm hearing you say is, you're worried about this, this, and this. And then what I did is I practiced it with my children constantly, and it was, you could tell it was working when I had teenagers, and I'd tell my daughter, so what I'm hearing you say is blah, 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 and she'd go, yes! And I'm like, okay, she feels heard,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so a lot of the mistakes we make as executives is we're trying to finish things, we want to get things done, we don't feel like we have time, but you can't afford not to make the time. You have to learn how to listen.
I love it. On a closing note, Greg, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. Your insight is invaluable. Congratulations on being such a well-respected leader in our space. Is there a particular tool, podcast, besides Live, Lead, Legacy, that you listen to, that you lean on?
Sure.
That you say, you know, man, this tool really sharpens me up?
Sure. Well, I'm going to brag first. So I've gotten a podcast as well, Adjusted. So you can check that out. It's
Nice.
only workers' comp, and
Love
we've
it.
done it, I think we've got 30,000 downloads, and I've been doing it for 5 years. So there are a lot of people that I've learned from through doing it. And so that's a huge, been growing for me.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you learn talking to other people. I also love Simon Sinek. He's got a podcast that's worth listening to. Not every episode is my cup of tea, but every now and then you'll find one that's pretty fantastic. So, but I would just say constantly be pushing yourself with new ideas, and ask yourself the question, where can we change that would make us better as an organization, make my team better, help our culture develop, and obtain better results. And if our guiding principle, our true north, is always do right, then the other pieces will fall into place beyond that.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the insight, Greg.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Great to be here.
And have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Folks, stay online. Be sure and keep watching Live, Lead, Legacy, the takeover of WCI 2025. We've got some more fantastic guests coming up in just a few minutes. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Live, Lead, Legacy Takeover. I'm Carlos Luna, your host for the day. We're here live in beautiful Orlando, Florida at the WCI Conference, and sitting, I was going to say standing, but sitting next to me is the amazing Miss Roxana Figueroa, Claims Manager of TCI Transportation. Welcome to Live, Lead, Legacy, Roxana.
Thank you, Carlos, and hi everyone watching us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, so we're in Orlando. It's an amazing event here. There are probably over 1,000 people here.
Yes.
When you hit the ground running here at this conference, for an employer like yourself, what is your primary goal when you hit the ground here? Is it education? Is it networking? What do you hope to take away from this week?
Two things that I look for. Number one, it is absolutely the education. As we know, things are changing very rapidly. So I want to make sure that I am up to date with any changes in law. I do business in almost all 50 states. So I have to make sure that if anything is changing on Illinois, that I am up to date to make sure that I am working and abiding by those laws and regulations. The second thing I would say is one, education, and the second thing will be looking for new vendors. What are going to be those vendors that are going to be key to my organization, that are going to make an impact on closing the claims effectively, but also conserving the cost?
There are a lot of individuals in your position that actually shy away from networking. It's weird, and I've seen it. It doesn't happen all that often, but every now and then you come across people that say, well, I don't really like going to conferences because I feel like I'm being hunted, right?
Yes,
like I'm
it's
being
intimidating.
pursued.
It's intimidating, yes.
But what I'm hearing you say is that this is an opportunity for you to meet with the people that you need to meet with, learn about the resources that are available for your claims program, and that's an integral part of your conference experience.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, it could be a little intimidating, but we could be respectful. You know, we can say, I want to learn more, or I'm happy with who I am right now.
I love it. I love it. So Roxana, as an employer, you obviously are entrusted by, the owners of your company to be responsible with the dollars, right?
Yes.
For the claims that you have out there and for the expenditures that you make.
Correct.
As you know, in the world of workers' comp, and by the way, I want to qualify here, you oversee claims for not just comp, but for all lines of insurance, right? So
correct.
Your job is multifaceted.
That is correct.
So you're overseeing these claims, and every now and then you will come across a claim that presents some red flags for potential questionable activity on it. How do you handle those types of claims, those scenarios that you think, well, you know what, that actually doesn't seem, or look right? I'm going to look deeper into that. Walk us through your thought process on that.
Yes, so I would say when you initiate and open a claim, you give it a holistic view, right? And you analyze, okay, did the accident or injury happen? And if it is, do we have any evidence to prove that it happened? And if it does, then we accept the claim and move on with the next steps. When I don't have that clear evidence to prove this really did happen, I don't have any witness, I delay it and I kind of question it and investigate a little bit deeper. Why do we want to do that? Because I want to make sure that I am accepting the claims that I strongly believe are legit injuries, so I can make sure that I take care of my injured worker. However, when I get those red flags, when things are not aligning based on the injured worker testimony, 2, the actual allegations of the injury, and 3, when we check their background, we notice that they are frequent flyers, meaning that they have already submitted multiple workers' comp claims, and they are very knowledgeable of what the process looked like. You know based on the verbiage that they use. So in cases like that, when I have a red flag, I really do take the time to investigate it, right? And you can do it 2 things. You read everything that they write, you listen to everything that they say, and you start to cross-reference. Is this making sense? And if it's not, let me look deeper into it. Let me look, do a medical canvas. Let me make sure that this is not a previous injury. Let me look at his background from his previous employers. Did he get injured in the past? Was that already a CNR and now he's trying to put it on us? So that will be probably the first step.
Yeah. So you find out that there are some questionable activities.
Correct.
Do you is your philosophy to really take it to the next level and make sure that you don't defraud your employer from, for money, and you're paying on benefits that really shouldn't be paid out?
Correct.
How, I guess the question that I'm really trying to ask is, how aggressive are you in pursuing that type of activity?
If I feel very confident with the evidence that I have that this is a potential fraud claim, I am going to go all in, meaning that I will hire a professional surveillance company to give me, not just go and follow them and get actual evidence that they're running, they're going to the gym, but I need the documentation. I have a case where we found out that the actual injured worker was falsifying the medical records. So I go a little further to the point where I persecute them, through fraud, through workers' comp, or even potentially, going to jail.
Yeah. I see you as someone who will be a great ally to those injured workers that legitimately have sustained a work-related injury that need to be paid benefits. But I also see you as a great, maybe opponent isn't the right word, but a great guardian of your resources, right, on claims that do present that suspicious activity.
Correct.
That's great, that's great. So Roxana, you have really, grown a lot in this industry professionally, and I personally have enjoyed watching that. I think that a lot of people in our industry hold you in very high regard for being
thank you for that.
one of the hardest working women in our industry. If there were young professionals out there that say, you know what, I want to be the next Roxana, right? Of course, you're one of a kind, but they're, you know what, I want to be the next.
We call it a unicorn.
I want to be the next claims manager, right? I want to be the next person of influence in this industry. What advice would you give them? And number two, what type of skills have you needed to cultivate within yourself that you would invite these same individuals to cultivate within themselves?
The first thing I would say, love what you do. If you don't have love for the things that you do, that passion is not going to develop. That drive of being self-motivated and wanting to dive deep, find more, encourage others, it's not going to be there. So be committed if this is something that you want to do. As a leader, as a claims manager, tell yourself, is this what I want to do? And if this is your passion, my next steps will be the tools that you need to develop. One of the most important, in my opinion, is going to be the social skills, the behavioral skills, because when you have a management position, you manage people, and it's just like your hand, right? Every single finger, it's different, and that's how people are. So you have to be able to understand their needs, set clear expectations, and make sure that they abide by it. And when it doesn't happen, you have to make sure that you put it in writing and you make the correction and don't be blinded, and then it's going to happen again. So a lot of those skills become with having and understanding the people that you're working with.
So, Roxana, you oversee a number of areas in your company. What is your approach to safety? Are you involved in that aspect?
My department is actually risk management, and safety and claims collaborate and work together on a daily basis.
Okay. So walk us through your safety philosophy. How involved are you in making sure that the claims never happen?
Yeah, so my philosophy for me is find the root of the problem. The claim is the symptom of the root, which is what is the actual issue of it? How did it happen? So when we open a new account, what we do is we send the safety team, including myself, because I have a different vision on the claims, and safety will go and do their evaluation as of what needs to be changed so that we can avoid potential accidents and injuries. When I go in, I look, again, the holistic view as of what could potentially create that and create a major accident that is going to cost the company a big financial impact. So when I go in, I look at little things that maybe safety will miss, and that's how we work together. So it's just addressing the root of the problem very, very early on, putting, the expectations of how we're going to prevent those foot injuries, head injuries. We're gonna wear a helmet, they're gonna wear glasses. What kind of PPE stuff are they gonna wear? What kind of training are they gonna need when they're gonna be on the road delivering to new customers? So implementing the training, safety protocols early on, it's what's going to prevent the actual claim from happening.
Are you the type of executive that is out in the field, like do you put on?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, in my car, I always have my safety boots, my safety beds, by the way, all pink, neon pink. Yes,
That's awesome.
I do, because if I have to go to a location, I want to make sure
Yeah.
that I'm booted up, vest up, and be able to go to the location and do an analysis.
That's
so
amazing.
yes, I want to set the example for the rest of my team. I always said, safety come first.
Yes. Well, we all know, right, the best claim is a claim that never happens,
Yes.
which is great. And I'm
Yes.
glad to hear that you're committed to the safety of your team.
Yes, I am.
GCI is now multi-state. How many states do you guys
I
operate
think
in?
we're 39 or 43 states
Wow.
by now.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's a huge, huge company.
Correct.
And your footprint spans obviously 3/4 of the country.
Correct.
If you had a magic wand, you could snap your fingers, Roxana. Is there anything in the workers' comp process or system that you would want to change? Maybe one or two things that you say, you know what, this element of comp just is not working, it's not great. What are the top two things that you think you would change?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the medical aspect. I think it's a big scheme, and it's really, really hurting workers' comp and the employers. Unfortunately, it's more aimed towards helping the injured worker, and that's where I see a big fall from, because a lot of these injured workers sometimes don't need those surgeries, sometimes they don't need those pain management injections, but to be able to add that to the bill and be able to get a larger settlement amount, they put these injured workers through that. So I think for me, it will be the medical field doing a deeper dive of what is actually needed and make sure that that is what it is.
Yeah, making sure that the medical intervention is actually warranted for that condition and
That
is going to
is
help them get
correct.
back to productive endeavor.
Yes, I think we need more, I don't know if accountability will be the right word, but we need to be able to trust our medical field. We need to be able to trust our doctors that what they're doing is for the best interest of the injured worker and not for the monetary settlement amount.
Roxana, as we start to wrap up our conversation, by the way, thank you for taking a
very
few minutes of
welcome.
your time.
Yes.
But as we start to wrap up here, as you think about yourself as a young chiquita in California, right? You live in California?
That is correct.
Little Roxy running around,
Yes.
her yard playing. If little Roxy could see big Roxana today, how would she feel about old Roxana? Would she be so thrilled and excited and happy about who you are today? Or what would little Roxana feel?
I think little Roxana will slap big Roxana and say, you need to start early. Don't wait so long. You need to get an early start.
That is too funny. My friend, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having us.
It's a pleasure. Stick around, we've got some more exciting guests here on the Live Lead Legacy takeover of WCI 2025. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Live, Lead, Legacy Takeover here at WCI 2025 in beautiful Orlando, Florida. Standing, or sitting next to me, rather, is Mr. Tom
Very
Ash.
short, Tom Ash.
Very short.
Standing next to you, very short, Tom Ash.
Mr. Tom Ash, a great pillar of the insurance community. He's been around for quite a while. Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. So I'm Tom Ash, and I have been in the workers' compensation space for probably 35 years, doing everything from bill review through case management to entire managed care companies to pharmacy and Medicare set aside and Kaiser Permanente and Claire Analytics. So well versed in all of the things that impact everybody every day.
Tom, when you come to conferences like WCI, obviously there's a lot going on, lots of sessions, lots of people. Is there a primary objective that you set for yourself before you even hit the ground here? Like, what is your goal, right? When you walk away at the end of the week, what do you hope to have accomplished?
Well, before I arrive, what I hope to accomplish is to set up the opportunity to talk to people that face-to-face, that you don't always have the opportunity to talk to, but since you're in the same space, setting those meetings up, even if they're casual meetings, that's important. While at the conference, I actually will pick places to sit and buy a traffic flow, and lots of people will come by and chat. I had multiples of that today, so you'll get to talk to other individuals. I will review the sessions and make sure that if there's something relevant or reasonable or something I want to learn more about, or somebody I know is in those sessions, and then if it's somebody that I've always wanted to talk to but I haven't had the opportunity, I will sit through their session and hand them a business card at the end of the session, and that will almost always leads to them picking up the phone the next time I call.
Wow.
So that's one of the things that I use. And then in leaving, when I leave, looking for my check boxes are that I had the meetings I chose to have. I had surprise meetings that I had because I was here, and that I was able to make a few contacts with people that I wanted to develop a relationship with, but didn't have one in the past.
That's really interesting. You know, the thing that you said about finding a place to sit where you see, you know, a traffic flow. Wow, I hadn't even ever thought about that. I'm of the mindset that you should set firm appointments right before you hit the ground, so that you have an itinerary that is already going to provide value. But I like the idea of being available and allow organic conversations to happen. Sometimes those are very meaningful as well.
They are, and it helps to be somebody that people want to stop and talk to. Otherwise, it's very lonely.
You're hanging out, just drinking your coffee, yeah.
But I do all of them, so I have a lot of set meetings.
Yeah.
But I also take the opportunity between to visit with people that stop to see me, which is always a good thing.
Tom, you're someone that in the industry I hold in very high regard. You've done a lot of different things in our industry. You've been involved in M&A on numerous occasions.
Mm-hmm.
You've helped to grow some of the more well-known brands in our company in a couple of different spaces, which is amazing. One thing that I definitely would love to pick your brain about is artificial intelligence. So you know our industry has been fixated on artificial intelligence, or at least the subject of artificial intelligence, for the last year or two. And I'm curious from your perspective, I know that you've worked in the tech space for a while, but what are you seeing in terms of artificial intelligence? Where are we at right now as an industry, and where are we headed in the next 5 years or so?
Okay, well that's a lot to unpack, but, but I'm ready to unpack it because I actually have well-formed ideas about that. So to give you a little bit of my background in artificial intelligence, my first entree into that was in 2018. when I joined Clara Analytics. And I must tell you, when I went for my interview with Clara Analytics, I thought AIML was one word and I couldn't figure out how to spell it or how to say it. How do you say AIML?
AIML.
Well, I found out that that was not a word. And from there, I learned just a tremendous amount of the market and was able to interpret what those skill sets provide the customers, which led to me later on, not too many long period after that, as being named as one of the top 10 AI experts on LinkedIn, which I found fascinating because I had just learned what AIML meant by then. But
word gets around fast, apparently.
But it has led to a pathway. There was a piece in LinkedIn not too long ago that talked about, does anybody know anything about AI that they didn't learn in the last 5 years? And I had learned more before then, so I felt like an old hack at it, but I definitely know more today than I ever knew, and I learn more every minute. Now my take on it is, AI is not the thing that is changing the world. Many people think that that's it. And AI is actually just the ability to program on a computer that is operating at a speed that we couldn't imagine 20 years ago. In fact, Gordon Moore in 1965 said that computer size and speed will double every 18 months, and it's done that ever since.
Wow.
So we're now at the point where 18 months from now, whatever you're seeing today will be doubled in computer speed, and it's that computer speed that is causing the revolution. It is that computer speed that's allowing all of those programs that are now being written by the data scientists to operate, and for the machines themselves to build their own operational piece. So it's computer speed, which makes it a little more real for people who don't quite understand all the nuances of AI. They understand that the computer speed is what's driving it. Now, to give you an indication of where we are today and where we're going, I kind of liken it to sitting here 20 feet from a high-speed rail track and the train's going by at an unimaginable speed. That's what AI is doing today. It's going by so fast that we're having trouble seeing it. And keep in mind that that train will go twice as fast in 18 months. So if we're aiming for where it is today, or if we're aiming to catch it, we're way behind the curve.
Yeah.
So you've got to get way out in front of it to understand what you want to do with it, what it will apply to, and then get it done, because by the time you wait to get it done, you may have missed the train.
Tom, I'm seeing the sun is creeping up on your shoulder here. Why don't we angle ourselves this way a little bit more, just to keep it out of your face here. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. 11:01.
Pardon? Tomorrow?
Yeah.
11's fine.
11, okay.
Mr. Tom Ash has a
See, they come by and talk to where I'm sitting. What can I say?
Here, you could scoot over this way. That way you get away from that light a little bit more. There you go. Much better, yeah. I just don't want it in your face. Okay, yeah, so we're talking about AI, and you make a very important point. So if we're pursuing that train at the same speed, we're never going to catch up, right?
Never going to catch it.
So from your perspective, if there was a way for us to truly optimize that type of technology, what do we need to do as an industry?
Well, first of all, you would optimize what you can in what you're attempting to do. But if you look at our industry and be straightforward about it, there are still systems operating on green screen with layers of GUI interface written over the top of it. That's a long time ago, and that's still operating on many of the systems. There are a few systems that have been built on different platforms and different technology, but it would seem clear to me, and I'm not making a prediction, I just am making the obvious statement, that those screens that haven't and those systems that haven't changed aren't going to be viable forever. COBOL is dead.
Yeah.
And so you need to get into something different. So I would be looking at the core basic operations, what's available out there, what the impact is, and what's the most feasible and cost-efficient way to advance what you're doing so that you're closer to where the train is, but more importantly, you've built the rail track for your own train as you get on it, so that you can move further, faster, better.
Tom, you're an individual that has a very unique seat in our industry. You have a vantage point to see many different elements of the space, of the insurance space. If you had a magic wand or could snap your fingers, what are the number one, number two things that you say, you know what, these two things aren't working, we need to change those two things, or that one thing? What would those two things be? What would you change?
Besides workers' compensation as a whole?
You'd get rid of workers' compensation.
Well, yeah, I have a solution for that, but we'll keep it for another podcast. The ability to have an understanding of the best way to operate so that all stakeholders, and I know this sounds redundant, but that all stakeholders, from the injured worker to the administrators of the programs, various ones, because it's not all workers' compensation insurance. There's all sorts of different ways to deal with people who've been injured on the job. And there are also ways to deal with people who've been injured off the job. I'd like to see those come closer together. And I won't ever mention the 24-hour care thing, because that's not what I'm talking about. But I do think that the commercial healthcare has a lot to offer in the care world to the workers' compensation, and they shouldn't be held so far apart. And so I would like to see more of that. In fact, years ago, this tells you how long it takes to make things happen. Years ago, I was involved in a program where we provided the health care related to workers' compensation in the commercial health plan. We were Knox-Keene certified, we got it built into the system, and so any of the patients who were members of the health plan for the Knox-Keene company came in and were treated for their workers' compensation injuries under the health plan auspices, and it generated a shadow bill so that all of the things that needed to be done by the insurance market would be handled, but it didn't generate a financial burden on the system. That's not what I'm proposing, but something that pays attention to the fact that workers' compensation is part of healthcare and that injured workers are part of humanity. Those would be the two things I'd like to see.
Oh, I love it. I love it. As we start to wind down our conversation, Tom, by the way, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your time to join us today. You are an incredible, your body of work, I guess, in workers' comp is pretty impressive. You've been in the industry for a few years, which is amazing. For some young leader that might be watching this, an aspiring person that is wanting to be the next Tom Ash, what advice would you give them? Like what?
No,
Don't do it. Don't be the next Tom Ash. No, what advice would you give them? They want to get to the pinnacle of their career, right? How do they need to equip themselves to be able to accomplish that?
Well, this is going to sound generic across all industries, but interest and passion and learning for the sake of learning, engaging for the sake of engaging, so that you're not working, you're learning and you're growing and you're helping and you're supporting. If that were the mindset, then all things will come to you in the particular field you're in. If you look at it as this is the job I'm doing now and I really want to drive a taco truck, then the job you're in isn't getting all it can from you, and you're not getting all you can from that job. So I would suggest, even if you're in something that isn't your ultimate passion, that your engagement in it becomes passionate.
Well, thank you so much again, my friend. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations on all the success that you've had. And folks, stick around. We've got one more guest coming up. Miss Bridgette Ferraro that's going to wrap up our 3-hour takeover of the Live, Lead, Legacy podcast at WCI 2025. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Stick around. Thanks, Tom. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Live Lead Legacy Takeover here at WCI 2025 in beautiful Orlando, Florida. Well folks, there you have it. We put together a really impressive list of guests for you to listen to this afternoon, which has been great. We had a number of folks that shared their expectations for the future to come. Certainly a topic that we talked about in each segment was the topic of artificial intelligence. Our industry has very, very ambitious goals with artificial intelligence, and there are some individuals that legitimately have concerns about whether or not we're optimizing the use of this technology. To Mr. Tom Ash's point, I think that if we endeavor to optimize it, we have to move at a quicker pace and almost scrap what we're doing and really be more intentional about developing things at a faster pace if we're going to truly take advantage of artificial intelligence and the benefits that it offers to the insurance claims process. We also heard from a number of people regarding staffing, retention and recruitment efforts. It's a topic of discussion that is popular across all of our industry segments, right? Two areas that are significantly impacted, of course, are the claims adjuster area or the TPA area, as well as the legal area, the legal defense area, with law firms struggling at times to retain and recruit talent in order to provide the high quality service that their customers deserve. What is the answer? Is it building a high quality corporate culture, or is it all about the dollar signs for the talent that you're able to get into the door? We had some wonderful discussions about that. Be sure and continue to watch the broadcast for today. We've got a couple of other podcasters, a couple of other YouTubers that are going to be following my transmission. I hope that you guys continue to watch them and support them. And I am just so grateful to be here and be able to put these individuals in front of you so that we can have these engaging conversations with them all. Again, my name is Carlos Luna with Live Lead Legacy, taking over the WCI 2025 airwaves. It's been incredible, and I hope we do this again. So thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Be sure and distribute this link to other people that you think might benefit from these brief conversations, and we'll see you at the next conference. Thanks so much.